Hello and welcome. My name is Lionholm, or Mentality Lost, depending on how you found me. And this is my first run-through of the Stanley Parable. That's weird. It's actually mirroring the screen, so I can see the Fraps frame rate on the little screen down there at the bottom. But let's get this started. Never the end is never, the end is never, the end is never, the end is never. Now, I know a little bit about the Stanley Parable. I saw it when it was actually a mod for Half-Life, a Gmod thing, and it was actually pretty interesting back then, but I'm curious to see what kind of changes they made now that it's a full release.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Starts out the same.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Give me a second. The game is now paused. Alright, is that going to be in video? No. Extras? No. Really? Oh, closed captioning. I was looking for subtitles. There's another game that takes advantage of the narrator, as you can tell, so... can't jump. This is pretty much an exploration.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Obviously, the narrator tells you how and where to go, but you do have choices to make along the way. I'll try to play through all those choices as I go along. I hate Mondays. Right now, simply just empty office.
When Stanley
First choice.
came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
So I could do as the narrator says, or I could go through the door on the right. And I'm rebellious, so I'm going to go through the door on the right.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Yes, that's why I'm going there.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Beautiful.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
So you're saying I shouldn't go through this door?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Do not jump from the cargo lift while in motion.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Oops. Alright, let me get back there.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley
I thought it would
decided to
be
go
funny
to
to
the
just
meeting
jump
room.
off.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of two openings, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Don't worry, I
Perhaps
won't
he
skip
wanted
through
to
most of the
stop by
dialogue. I just
employee
wanted
lounge
to...
first, just to admire it.
There's an achievement that says you can't
Wow.
jump if it's disabled,
Yes,
so I wanted to see.
this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Let's do this again. I didn't take long to get back
Stanley
to.
was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Penalty for misuse of cargo lift, $1,000. Penalty for jumping off the cargo lift, $5,000.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
I don't remember a
This
her.
is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Who? Oh, well, this doesn't look ominous at all. The light simply stops like a couple inches in the door. In we go.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Is there actually an option here? Wait.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven.
Wait, he lives in apartment 427 as well?
Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha.
You're a
Oh,
dick.
come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
What if I wanted to go down here?
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Damn it.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
What?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature
What if I
of
can
his
hit different
existence.
buttons? No. No, I don't want to press that button. I want to press any button, but...
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that
hate
he's
you.
chosen this life.
I hate you. I didn't choose this. You
But
put
in
me
his
here.
mind, in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Gee, where there's a TV? Where's there a TV?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job.
Where'd the TV go?
First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
0.
As he wandered through this
Hey.
fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
I feel like I just ruined most of the story here.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Alright, I won't do it. Anything gonna happen if I don't do it? I feel like can I do this? You gonna let me out of here if I don't push the button? I have a feeling nothing's gonna happen until I push that button.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way
I wasn't
that
gonna
he'll
push the
understand
button.
that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
To question
I suppose
nothing.
I can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I
And that was the death of Stanley. Alright. Let's see what happens if I actually follow the directions.
Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted.
Dialogue's changed a little bit.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his
Whiteboard
boss's
manager, the
office,
manager of the whiteboard?
hoping he might find an answer there.
Pretty much how most people look at how to deal with problems. Boss's office is upstairs,
Coming
right?
to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
So as you can see, there's a lot of decision points you can make in this game. Whoa. Executive bathroom. There's a secret door in the boss's office, isn't there?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number.
I'm the most expensive boss.
2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
So you're saying I shouldn't put in 2, 8, 4, 5.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
You know, for a secret passageway, this place looks like crap. Boop! We descend!
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now?
Slight stutter,
when
sorry
for
about that.
years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
So you can
Stanley
tell.
walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Alright. Yeah, I'll do what he says for this time round, and then next time I'll come through and do something else. Do I hit the boop boop?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with
Cerebro?
television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
One of these choices actually leads to a nuclear facility, if I remember correctly.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature
Whoa.
revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
This is definitely a metaphor for work environments in some places, where it's pretty much just you're just a cog in a machine.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to
427.
believe it couldn't be
Right
true.
there.
Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he
We're going
truly
now.
spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Most people do. It's not really all that uncommon.
Here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over
button do?
another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
And for all. Until somebody else came through and turned it back on. There's a button up here. Boop. Oh. Maybe it's a button. I want to jump. It would make... Oh. I just got the achievement, you can't jump. Guess I just had to spam it for a moment. 5. Boop. Mind controls are idle, awaiting input. It's a huge screen.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
There.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
You can see something there on the screen a little bit.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
The door actually has to open first. But I will be happy to.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
So this video contained the death of Stanley, when I rebelled completely against it, and the actual liberation of Stanley. That's going to be it for this particular part. Next part we'll probably see what's downstairs and see what's maybe in the escape path. But for now, that's the end of this part. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, and I will get more parts of this up soon, so I will see you in the next part.